Hi everyone, I'm Elizabeth from Simple Simon and Company, and we are doing our second block of the month. This month we are doing the rail fence block, or an easy way to strip piece quilt blocks that are really fun to make. What it makes is this rail fence block that is 3 strips sewn together, and they're fast and easy because you can sew them in long strips and then cut them apart at the very end. So all we're going to need is some fabrics. I've chosen 3 of these great art gallery fabrics right here. We're also going to need a cutter. We're going to need our quilting mat, our quilting ruler to cut with, and then obviously your sewing machine and an iron. Are you ready to get started? All right, now that we know about our rail fence, let's talk about how to do one. We're going to do something that's called strip piecing today to make this quilt block, which means that you can make a lot of blocks in a short amount of time. I've picked my 3 fabrics that I want in my rail fence. So I chose to do kind of a darker fabric and then a light blender fabric and then kind of a darker fabric but incorporates all of that purplish maroon color in there as well. You can do the opposite. You can do 3 light colors and do it ombre, or you can choose to do like 2 light fabrics and a dark in the middle. That would work as well, whatever you like to do. So let's show you how to cut fabric. You can use a full width of fabric. I just happen to have some fat quarters, so that's what I'm using today. So I won't get as many blocks as I would get out of a 45-inch piece of fabric, but I will show you how to do it. Let's take the first one. And I don't have a full fat quarter. I've used this for another project, so I'm just showing this what I would do. Your fat quarter is going to be a little bigger than this. Every time I get a piece of fabric, I like to square it up myself. So I line up the bottom on one of my lines, or I can line up the top, whichever, and then I place my quilting ruler and cutter and cut right here along so that I know I have a square edge. I'm going to go ahead, and I'm making a 6-inch block for my rail fence. So I'm going to cut my 3 pieces 2.5 inches. That will make my 6-inch finished block. So I'm going to cut my purple color, move that off to the side. I'm going to cut the other 2, and then I'll show you how to assemble them. All right, now we have our 3 strips cut. So what I'm going to do is take them over to the sewing machine and show you how to stitch them together. All right, I've got my 3 strips, and what I'm gonna do is just take actually I think they had these out of order of how I cut them. I think I had them this way, so we'll go back to that way. So I'm gonna just take my first strip, I'm going to lay it on top of the second one, and then sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way down. You can buy a foot that's a 1/4 inch foot, but I have a setting on my machine that it moves it a little bit to the right, and it's exactly 1/4 inch. I have a Baby Lock Unity, and it's setting number 2 on my machine. So all I'm gonna do is just go all the way down. Evening these up as I go. So I've got the 2. I'm going to cut my threads, and then all I'm going to do is open this so I have row 1 and 2 done. And I'm just going to do the exact same thing with adding row 3 on there. Okay, I have my 3 pieces joined together. I'm just going to take them over to the iron, and I like to iron to my dark side. So since my lighter fabric is in the middle, I'm going to iron both of these sides out. So I'm going to go over and do that, and then I'll meet you back at the cutting mat to show you how to cut your rail fence blocks. Okay, so now that we have our 3 strips sewn together, we're going to do the exact same thing we did before. I'm just going to line up my strip on one of the horizontal lines, and then I'm going to square up the side of my block. And then I said before that we have a 6-inch finished block. That's after the whole block is sewn together. So right now we have 6.5 inches, so I need to cut this 6.5 inches. So just move my ruler over 6.5 inches. Cut one block, and then I'm going to move my ruler over 6.5 inches again. I have to do math in my head for a second. 6.5, here we go. Now that we have our rail fence blocks cut, there are lots of different options for patterns. You can do one block horizontally and then the next block vertically and kind of make a pattern that way. I've done lots of baby quilts that way. You can kind of see that this is starting to make like a cool chevron, so my next block would be a horizontal. It kind of makes a chevron pattern down the quilt. I will have lots of patterns uploaded to that Pinterest board, so make sure you check that out. And you can find lots more quilting tutorials at www.simplesimonandco.com.